As many of you will know, I typically jump first into the car reviews for new updates, but since the engine swaps are pretty much the highlight of GT7 1.42, I thought let's get to that first. We have 10 new swaps, and without any further ado, these are the 10 swaps found in GT7 1.42. First up, we have the 1968 Dodge Charger, of course added not that long ago itself. This one could be fitted, surprise surprise, with the Dodge Challenger Demon engine. A hell of a lot of horsepower you can get out of that. The next one is the Ford F-150 Raptor. This is a fascinating one because it kind of messes up my special projects. Before, of course, I had the roughly 800 horsepower version of this versus an engine swapped 800 horsepower Toyota. Now though, this one definitely swings in the Ford's favour again because you can put the 351 Maverick Windsor engine in there with a hell of a lot more horsepower. So you could turn it from being like a rally raid truck into more of a Pikes Peak truck. Next up, we have the also fairly recent RCR Time Attack Civic. I know this was one that certain people were really hoping for a swap for. If you already thought it had understeer and torque steer, well, it's got a lot more now, no doubt, with this newer engine, the HR414E from the Honda NSX race car. An appropriately cool engine for a stripped out track day special. Next up, this one is a fascinating swap, a really cool throwback to the initial intentions of the Jaguar XJ220. For those who don't know, it was originally supposed to have four-wheel drive and a V12. Of course, by the time it reached production, it had rear-wheel drive and an MG Metro rally car engine, a V6. Now, though, you can drop the Le Mans winning, in fact, 1988 or so XJR9 V12. So not only is it appropriate in terms of cylinders, but it's appropriate in terms of the time period also. A hell of an engine. It is pretty expensive though, but a nice alternative to something like the R92CP engine, which we've had quite a few of, and of course the ever popular 787B swaps. Next up, we have a swap already for the Mercedes 190E, the M159 from the 2020 shape AMG GT3 car. Pretty fascinating engine swap. I guess you could maybe detune it and have yourself a nice little evolution version of the DTM replica that I did. You can see the livery for that one here in the video. Next up, surprise surprise, we have the Nismo 400R. Of course we were going to be able to swap it. You can actually drop the VR38DETT, of course GTR Nismo engine. I'm sure plenty of people will be doing that. Personally though, I think I might leave the standard engine in there. It's a bit more of a specialty car and I might leave it that way. The next pair are actually quite fascinating because if you're not meticulous, you might actually miss a pretty cool little nugget here, and that is that we have a pair of new Supra swaps for the 2019 GR Supra and the 2020 GR Supra. But where things get juicy is it's not the same engine. You can put into the 2019 model the 2JZ engine, classic Supra stuff, but then in the newer one, you can put the 1LR GUE engine, aka the Lexus LFA V10. So a hell of a different approach to a 2JZ, and it means that if you do have both Supras, you could build two radically different approaches to maybe a drift car and a speed car, maybe a track day car, or some kind of racing replica. Next up though, we have the highlight. This is the one I've been hoping for so long. I'm so happy to see it. I featured it in the thumbnail. The Alphard finally has an engine swap, and what an engine it is. I couldn't have probably asked for a more perfect engine for someone like me who adores the Renault Espace F1 so much. It's not a Renault, it's still not as powerful, it's still not as light, and it's certainly not as quick, but at least it's close to it in spirit. The 1LR GUE LFA engine. I've already tuned up one of these because of course I have. I took what I'd already done for the track day build, I've even got the same livery still on it, tuned it up to full power, dropped it to like, what is it, 1450, 1500 kilos, something like that, took it around Suzuka, did like a just over 2 minute lap. It's like a 2 minute 5 second lap, which for a minivan is pretty rapid, and it's so much fun and it sounds ballistic. On the one hand, it makes me want an Espace even more because imagine how crazy that would be, but for now, it's very, very cool to finally be able to take this admittedly memeable car and put it into a whole new level of awesome. And last, but definitely not least, in fact for some people, maybe even your favourite of all of these, the A86 Corolla. With the fixed headlights, not the pop-up model of course, with a 3S GTE engine from the Toyota MR2. Interesting choice, decent amount more horsepower of course than the initial A86 spec. I do find that might be a little bit conflicting. with the Shigeno version, which was already more powerful. But for those who are AE86 fans, it's probably an engine that you're pretty excited about. I know the MR2 engine gets a lot of love anyway, so if you're building maybe a drift car or a rally build, then I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun with that. So some pretty damn cool engine swaps this time around. You already know the highlight for me because I said it. For me, the one which was the most surprising was definitely the XJ220. That's a really cool engine swap and by far the most expensive out of all of these. So of course, stick around whenever we get the next update for even more engine swaps being added to the master list. And of course, stick around over the next few days for my coverage of more from GT7 1.42. But for now, thanks for watching.